All right, we're getting serious. Okay. So I wanted to talk about the Romanovs, which is the last dynasty of royal family that Russia has had. The Romanovs actually came into play in 1613. Yeah, Mikhail Romanov was the first Romanov to become Tsar, and he was only a teenager at the time in 1613, which was emperor, in Russian translation was just emperor. 1613, first Romanovs, and they were the ruling family until the end of the monarchy in Russia, which lasted until 1917, when essentially the Bolsheviks took power. Really, there was a provisional government that kicked the Romanovs out, and then the provisional government couldn't really get their shit together, and then the Bolsheviks kicked them out, and then communists took power. Anyway. Yeah, and I read about the last family, the last Tsar. The last Tsar was Nicholas II and his wife Alexandra. What's fascinating to me and what I really love spending so much time on was this thing that a lot of historians or people who are into history will do if you ever talk to them, is they like playing the what if game. And the what if game is, what if this happened instead of this? For example, what if Hitler wasn't rejected as an artist, so he never had a bruised ego or decided to hate the Jews or anything and go into politics. If Hitler became an artist, then he would have no reason to go into politics, and so basically the Holocaust probably would never have happened. If Hitler had been an artist, if that school in Austria had accepted him, he would have just made art and never gone into politics, and none of this shit would have happened. Like, how crazy is that? Now, taking that, and I get to play that with this last family in multiple ways. So first of all, Nicholas II became Tsar when he was 22, 23. His father became Tsar before him, very late into his life, probably when he was like 40-something, because his father, Alexander II, was Tsar for quite a while. Alexander III became Tsar, and he didn't have to have his whole family. He'd been doing much stuff as just prince for a while, and finally he became Tsar. He wasn't Tsar for very long, because when Nicholas II was like in his 20s, young 20s, his dad was assassinated, and he died from complications from this assassination attempt. It was an attempt because like they blew up his train, and then he died later because medicine in early 1900s was not awesome. So he died, and he was raised not super awesome because they weren't expecting him to become Tsar anytime soon, considering that his dad had only become Tsar not until his 40s. So it was like, he's got 20 more years, we can, get him up to speed. However, shit happens. So he became Tsar when he was 20, exactly, 22, whatever else. Meanwhile, he had a crush on his second cousin. Side note, we'll get to that later. Everyone who's a royal person at this time in Europe was related. Europe's fucked up. Let's get real. Queen Victoria, whom you may have heard, had like 9 kids. And most of the girls married into families in the rest of Europe to help spread the light and to unify the countries and all of that great political nonsense. So one of her daughters married into a German throne, and this German little principality had a bunch of kids. One of those kids was named Alix, which was her attempt to be named after her mother, whose name was Alice, because her mother was English, but she was a German girl who had a German dad. Alix grows up to become Empress Alexandra of Russia. She meets Nicholas II, and they fall in love. At the time, this is a really big deal, because most matches or marriages in the royal households are made based on politics, and that's great, you guys can get together, make some babies, and make sure that our two countries are not going to go to war for a couple of years. Thanks. Have sex now, bye. However, they were a rare match and actually loved each other and wrote each other love letters for the rest of their lives and were very sweet on each other. As you read these letters in these biographies, you get to see Nicholas's personality is very subdued. He's very timid. For an emperor in general, is not the best at all. For an emperor of Russia in particular is actually terrible because they're a bit more of aggressive people. Okay, this would just be for fun and for you, and I could always make one to post officially online somewhere.